welcome to episode 16 of OverDrive. We've got here fairly quick again, haven't we, chaps?
It's come down fast, hasn't it? These weeks are flying by. And the film is just... yeah. I was going to say, and the film is going great, but...
And this was the reason why episode 15 was delayed by a week.
Yes, we should explain. Well, first of all, of course, you joined us here at NK Prestige Motors in Huddersfield again. They've very kindly let us use the showroom today, and we have just finished filming one of the features as well, so that's why we're here. We should explain though. Last episode, the title, of course, was a back in focus. There's two reasons for that. Of course, you remember the Mark 1 Z-Tech focus feature we did. The other reason for that is we're back in focus in more ways than one, because Malcolm here decided to go and get pneumonia on the warmest February week for 300 years.
I like how you said decided.
It was not on my bucket list.
Me and Martin did go visit him in hospital, didn't we?
We did. I was told myself the times I'd have to be at that certain hospital, but I'm now realising it's never for myself. It's always for someone else, and we had to see Malcolm.
But I think he appreciated us paying a visit.
Everybody turned up.
But good news, he's here.
He's back and almost right and fit again.
So we can crack on.
Right, well, I test drive a Chevrolet, but not one you might expect.
I get taken by a BMW, a 123D.
And I completely ruined Craig's birthday treat of a Focus RS Mark III by defending my Mark II to the hilt.
Fair to say, the guys here probably thought I've had a bang on my head or something, because I went to bought a new car. I needed something fairly quickly, and I went and ended up with a Chevrolet Lacetti, didn't you, chaps? I know you're all going to burst out laughing. I know it was made famous by a certain TV show. I didn't specifically go looking for one. It was locally and it was a good price, so I picked that up. So let's take a look at the Chevy.
Right, so today, folks, Craig's turned up, as we've all met up, and he's thrown us a bit of a curveball here. He's turned up in a different car. I'll let Craig tell you what it is, but we were a bit surprised. So what are we in today, Craig?
We are in a Chevrolet Lacetti.
A Lacetti? Oh no.
Made famous by a certain TV program.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't think about it. We're not going to be throwing it around the track and asking, members of famous people to come and do a lap time. We won't be doing things like that. But
no, it was a bit of a surprise. I sprung this on the chaps today. We were scheduled to be filming, but we didn't really know what we were going to be filming until I turned up in this.
So this has become the feature today.
Yes, and yes, it is my new car. I got it yesterday. And your thoughts, Martin? First thought.
First initial thoughts when I saw it, I thought, well, we're talking a 2009 car now, aren't we? And we know cars have moved on and so on. But I still thought, when I saw it straight away, I thought, actually, what a nice bit of styling to this car.
Yeah, I mean,
I really like how the back is. I think it's styled fairly well.
I wouldn't say it was stylish, but it's certainly not bad looking.
It's certainly not a boring looking car at all. It's surprising. I will say from the bat, I really know nothing about Chevrolet or Lacetti at all, much really.
But yes, it was. I suppose one thing we do know is that this really carried on from Daewoo, wasn't it?
Well, we do know that. We do know Daewoo took over, didn't they? And like with things like the Mitties, and everyone was saying that was just like a badge swap and things like that. But I think this sort of stands away from that, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, obviously you got your saloon, the hatchback, which is this, the estate as well.
I think this is really the one that stands out of the crowd with them, really.
Probably the best looking of the bunch, I would say.
And I must say, what a nice bit of room is in this car.
It's certainly practical.
It feels very... It is roomy, but it's also giving the impression it's more roomy, actually. It feels a nice, bright environment to be in. It's not dull in any way.
I mean, I needed a practical, runabout car, and saw this and thought, you know what, that looks a good deal. And certainly a lot of space in here. You even got storage pockets here on the side of the seat.
That's unbelievable. I have never, not in any cars I've owned or filmed, seen one with storage pocket right on the seat. And you know what? It's funny how it's like you could slip a mobile phone in the side.
I suppose that's what it's designed for, isn't it?
It is. I really like the pattern on the trim. It is a very brightish pattern, but not too overboard.
It actually feels quite light and airy in this
Yeah,
car.
it gives you that impression of it's not a dreary place to be, is it? And
I think that's probably a lot to do with the colours of the materials, what they've used and things like that.
yeah. So we're talking a 1.6 with this one.
1.6.
Now, I believe this might be the only thing I do know, that they did not do a diesel, did they, in this? And I
not
think
for the UK market.
No,
I
they
think
only
they might
did,
have done in other parts of the
they
world.
may have done, yeah. I think, but what we'd always see is, I think we had a 1.4, a 1.6, which this is, and a 1.8.
I mean, the 1.8 I think was only in the saloon, so it was sold in fairly small numbers anyway. But I'm not sure exactly sure power outputs on this. I think we were talking about 115, 120 or
something like that, isn't it? But
it's a pretty nippy car.
Yeah, I think if you're going to get one, I think you've probably got the right one. Let's say as a 1.6, both for your fuel economy and performance and everything. I'd say.
Obviously, I've only just got the car, like I said, so it's difficult at this stage to judge actually how economical it's going to be or not.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, first impressions. I'm pretty.
First impressions for us. We wondered what was going on when this black, because it is black, and Malcolm hates filming black cars. So we found out with the Puma.
You can always see his face drop.
Yeah, but he turned up in this, and we saw it, and we thought, well, what's he done now? What's he got? And so here it is, and yeah, there's some nice plastics on it and things as well. That they are a bit hard.
Yeah,
we will say that. But I suppose at this sort of time, a lot of cars were like that. Things have changed and moved on, but I won't say they're dull plastics.
They're not. It's not a bad. It's quite a. I would say stylish, but it's not a bad design interior. It's
I really like
quite,
how they've done a really good contrast between the grey and the darker grey, which is nearly a black, and then this brushed silver effect, which some would have just put it in the centre, but they've continued the theme right
it
round.
goes all the way right across the dashboard.
And at least it's broken everything up.
We do have some nice stuff. We've got the standard factory CD player, which is actually a Blackpool CD player.
I just noticed that. I suppose, I guess this under here is just a storage area
there.
I suppose you got your discs put in there or whatever.
Heating controls, got air conditioning as well. You got your steering wheel controls here. We've even got volume controls and that kind of thing on the steering wheel. And I have to say, it's a pretty nice car to drive, to be fair.
And I guess with all electric power windows and things like that.
Yeah, mirrors and everything like that. For the kind of sort of end of the market that this car costs, I have to say you can't really complain.
No, certainly not. No, it will certainly probably do its job as a daily run around for your work and things like that. And what more can you ask for that, for the price?
I didn't specifically go out shopping for a Chevrolet Lacetti, should we say?
No,
but no, this turned up, and I have to say I was looking for a runabout car, and for the sort of money that you can pick one of these up for, I think it's a pretty good buy, really. There's not that many about though.
I was just going to say, personally, from my own opinion, I haven't seen many about. Was there a massive seller when they was out? I don't know, but
not as I'm aware.
No.
I didn't see many when they were new. I think looking at classifieds and sort of the main advertising website, and I found about 30 odd, and not all of them were hatchbacks either. Right. That was a mixture of.
So you could be driving around in a nearly a bespoke car now, isn't it? It's
pretty rare, yeah. I don't know sort of about parts availability in the future, if I'm going to be looking, at that, how hard it is going to be to find. I have heard stories that they can be a little bit tricky to get bits and pieces for.
On the whole, I think it looks a very spacious, roomy car, and I'm surprised the room you have in the back, and the headroom seems to continue, even so when you look on the outside with the styling at the back, it does look to sort of sweep down a fraction, but yet you don't lose it at the back. It's good how they've achieved that.
The boot, again, pretty practical, slightly smaller than the one I had car before, but decent for the size, that's certainly. Can't complain at that at all. And like I say, it does seem a pretty nice car to drive. You've got plenty of equipment, all your basic stuff that you need.
Yeah, you've got your aircon and all that, and your heated rear windscreen and things like that. And everything you'd expect of a car of this sort of spec.
Yeah.
Your display looks very clear and that. I like it. It's well laid out.
It is really good actually. Yeah, really good and clear and concise and generally speaking, a pretty tidy car as well.
Now, like I say, I will stress, I do not know nothing about Chevrolet much as a whole. They're more an American feel to me, but when I think of Chevrolet, I think of like...
You're thinking of big American
I think I think like your Camaros, your big pickups and things like that, and that's about it with me. So when I saw this and you see this Chevrolet badge on it, you think,
hang on.
Yeah,
it was
sort
like,
of thing. But
obviously, I think they took over from Daewoo, didn't they?
did it?
Mentioned, yeah.
We know that.
And it inherited a lot of their models, didn't they?
So, if anyone's saying that, oh, it's an awful car, it's not a Chevrolet, just hang fire with that, because
we kind of know that, though.
we do know, and Chevrolet did what they did with what they took, basically.
But yeah.
But hats off to them at the time. This is a fair car for what it is, really.
Yeah.
You can't argue for its practicality of it, and what you will get out of it as a daily runner to work, we'll see. But all in all, for the money, a very tidy car. I won't say little car, because it's not exactly a small one, but
no, it's decent size.
So that is the Lacetti. I'll try and make sure I get the name right, as as we've heard someone kept calling it. What was it?
Lacetti.
A Lacetti or something. A Lacetti.
We've just tried to make a star out of a reasonably priced car. Pun intended.
Someone else once said that before, I can't think.
Mystery.
True. But now we'll move on to a slightly older BMW. So this is a 1 Series, it's a 123D. Now, initially me and Martin had a quick look at this when we were filming. We saw this initially when we were filming the Land Rover, didn't we?
We have seen it a few times, but this time we thought we'd have a closer look at it.
So I thought I'd have a look at it, but actually thought it might have been sold by the time I actually got back down here. It's still here. It's quite a nice little BMW. It's 11 years old, but still in reasonable condition for its age. And it was also my first actual time in front of camera doing a shoot. So,
for a while. So
here we go. You find me in a BMW 123D. This is a car we found at NK Prestige Motors. Now this one is an 08 plate, which makes it an 11-year-old car. However, it's still in really good condition. The interior has stood up really, really well, and it looks really good. There is this really nice sort of patterned silver plastic that's in place, and while that does sound a bit cheap, it doesn't look it. It actually looks and feels pretty good, and it's stood up really well. Usually when you've got this kind of silver, there would be potentially flaking or a dulling of it over time, but it's stood up really, really well. The pattern's quite nice, it's very tactile, and you've got it on the dash, you've got it on the door handles, and you've also got it on the gear surround and the ashtray lid as well, which, you know, it's subtle and breaks up the interior a little. You've also got half leather trim on the seats, and it's actually really, really comfortable. I cannot actually fault it. It's really comfortable. You've got the extension for the leg as well on the seats. You've also got height adjustments on both sides as well. In fact, all the controls you've got on one particular seat you also have on the passenger as well, which is fairly unusual in a car of this age. But the other thing that strikes you when you get in is it has the M badging. It has the M badge there as well. It has it on the kick plates, it has it on the steering wheel, it has it on the gear lever, and it also has it on the alloys as well, the tiny little M badge on the alloys. And that's it. It's not shouting, I've got M badging. It just says 123D on the back, and everything else is quite subtle. It's not shouting about its heritage. And to be fair, when you actually look at the dash, you notice there's not actually that many options. So this obviously isn't the Firebrand M cars, such as the M3 or the M4. There is some subtle makeovers in places, and that's it. On the buttons, you only have traction control off. Everything else is blank, but that's pretty much a blank canvas for you to actually expand on your own car. Yes, you need access to a BMW dealership to actually activate these things, but the options are there if you really want to go down that route. The air conditioning unit's pretty good. It's very similar to the ones that were in the cars before, but with a few extra options. You have the directional buttons for which way the air is blowing, so you can have up, into your face, down by your feet, but the thing is you can actually activate all three at the same time. We also have your standard auto button, fan control, whether or not you want to the air recycling and things like that. You can have front window demist. You also have the defrost button, and of course the rear windscreen as well. However, you also have a button on the steering wheel where if you push the button, you will turn your air conditioning on. That's it though for air conditioning controls on the steering wheel, because the rest of the buttons on that side are for the radio, and on the other side they're for the inbuilt telephone functions, assuming you have the Bluetooth modification added. Gearbox is a 6-speed manual, again with an M badge right in the middle, and it's actually quite a tight little gate. It feels pretty good. The thing I really like is this. The fact is you've got that little slot underneath to put your key fob, and that will at least stop keyless theft of your car. Back in towards the center console though, the radio is fairly familiar for me because it's very similar to the BMWs of old and the stereos that BMW used to put into the MG Rover cars when they owned the Rover company. And I actually had something very, very similar in my MGF. However, it's not a bad little stereo. And the great thing is, if you actually take that out, you'll have a single DIN section where the stereo sits, and you could fit your own with a blanking plate going around to actually finish it off and blend it into the actual dash area. So it's not as if you're stuck for stereos to add. And the great thing is as well, because it's not integrated into a sat-nav, that option is a lot easier to actually do. If you really do want the stereo system with the sat-nav, this isn't the car for you. Having said that, it's something that you could actually try and add. The thing being that you would probably need to replace the entire dashpod. Controls for adjusting the mirrors are right down by the window controls on the driver's side. There is also the lighting system, which is just below the heating vents on the driver's side. Display nice and clear. You have the speedometer, you have the rev counter with the fuel gauge in there, and also when you're actually looking at it, it will tell you how many miles you've got to go before the next fill up, and things like the servicing and things like that. Interior is actually really good. Yes, this is a two-door car, and I wouldn't normally jump at two-door cars and like them a huge amount, but this one is a little different. It was quite striking for me. But the thing is as well, access to the back is pretty good, and considering it's a small car and I've got my seat as it stands at the minute further back than I'd normally have for driving, access in the back is really good, as is legroom. So it's not a cramped car despite its size, and despite the fact you've got a pretty big practical boot as well. It's not that different to the size that I would expect in a car the next step up from here. It's also probably bigger than many of its contemporaries today, never mind back then. It's nice, it's practical. You could very easily pack for a family holiday in this car without too much trouble. Boot access is either through the logo, you push the logo in and you lift it up, or you can actually use the fob to unlock the boot. It does not lift though. So if you're expecting that auto lift function from many modern BMWs, you're going to be sadly disappointed. Engine access is really good as well. And the thing is as well, this one is the development from the older M47 engine, which was probably one of the cleanest diesel engines in its class at the time. As mentioned, the interior is really good condition, especially considering the age, and there's no real scratches, marks. There's occasional wear points, but it's nothing major. Nothing that a general cleanup couldn't handle. You have two 12-volt power points. You have one underneath the cubby hole here, with an auxiliary in, and you have one in the ashtray right at the front. But also in this section here, besides having a nice armrest, you also have a storage facility there as well. So you can stick a few CDs in, assuming you're not changing your stereo over. You also have 3 full seat belts, so you've not got a lap belt in the back. In terms of safety equipment, you have airbags at the sides here and in the rear as well for the window protection. You have impact airbags in the seats, and of course you have the standard airbags in the wheel and the dashboard as well. While there are a few age-related marks on the paintwork, overall there is no overall issues. There's no rust, there is no serious markings on the paintwork. There are just things that could be sorted out with things like T-cut, maybe the odd touch-up pen in places, but generally it's a case of polish and looking after the paintwork in general, and it will bring the car up really well. Considering it's an 11-year-old car with 124,000 miles on the clock, it actually looks really, really good. So yes, it's been used, it's been pretty well driven around, but looked after as well. The service history is with the car, and we've had a quick look at this, and it's been well looked after. So you've got no major issues with the engine. The thing to remember as well is these BMW engines, especially the diesels, have been known to go over 250,000 miles without major issue. You've got a really good solid basis of a car here. Chain driven engine, so you've no timing belts to worry about or anything like that, so long as you're keeping up to things like the oil changing, making sure that there's no leaks in the coolant system, things like that, which is the sort of thing you need to do in any car. This will look after you really, really well. Overall, it is a really, really nice car. Plenty of room on the inside, really good looks on the outside. So that's it. That's the 123D.
So that was the 123D. I do hope you enjoyed that. Malcolm certainly had a good time doing it on your own there, didn't you, Malcolm?
Well, sort of.
He's still recovering.
Bless him.
So moving on now, on to one of our Craig's Topics discussion features. Cue the jingle. At the risk of sounding like a load of miserable whatever, we're going to look at some features on cars now we do like, because after all we do have a passion for cars, don't we, Martin?
A really simple one.
Go on.
And this is with more modern cars with the soft touch buttons. When you've finished your journey, you turn your lights off, you've just been through fog. The next time you start your car, the fog lights aren't on. Because there's nothing worse than driving with people. It was foggy 3 weeks ago, and they've got their click thing in, and they're still driving with the fog lights.
The thing is, and a lot of it was a trend with a lot of these boy racers and that, they do it, and the cars up and things, and they drive around with the fog lights on. They put the side lights on and put the fog lights on. Fine, just for in the car parks if they're meeting up and things like that, but you got somewhere they just drove like you said, days on end like that, as if they didn't know. But there were some older cars that when you put your fog lights on at the front, your rear one came on as well. Sometimes they weren't independent, and they didn't realise they were driving around with the rear fog lights on. It looked horrendous. But yeah, I do like that feature, the way once the ignition's off, things like that have to be redone again, which is a good thing.
Yeah. It's the thing as well, because I don't know if your Fiesta suffers with this, Mike, but the ST lines that I've come across, you turn the engine on and the lights come on, so you turn them off, but as soon as you turn the engine on again, they come on again, and it's like, look, I don't want the lights on.
Well, you see, the trouble with mine is set at the moment on auto lights, and wherever the sensor's placed, let's say if there were a vehicle parked right close to me, it can be as bright as it is outside now, and as soon as I turn the engine on, the lights will come on.
You know why? Because in many foreign countries, you actually have to have your headlights on going through tunnels by law. And before the delay was too great, you could actually get people. If the police car was in front of you and you went into the tunnel, the delay could actually get you into trouble. But you know, if it's quite sensitive. I mean, yeah, it's an annoyance. Like if you've got a bright sunny day, you've got a wagon park next to you, and you turn your car on and the headlights.
Oh, well, we're talking less than a minute. It's like if I go under a tunnel and my lights come on. We're talking less than a minute easy. If especially if it's really bright like this, once you're out of the tunnel, they're off.
Yeah.
A BMW only yesterday went under the same bridge as me. His lights came on, mine came on. He came out and he was in front of me. He got right down the road, right to the end. He was on the opposite way. His was still on.
Yeah.
Mine had gone off half the time before this. I don't know if it's a thing you can change or I know I can change it when I turn the ignition off. I can leave my lights on for a certain length of time. One feature I found about this Fiesta, and I haven't tried it myself yet, I'm sure it does work. If you put the windows down, and then you lock the car, if you keep your finger held on the button longer, even when it's locked, it will automatically put the windows up.
Now,
Mine does that, my Astra does that.
I can do that with mine.
Yeah.
Now you see, it's a feature I never knew.
Yeah, except you can't use it with the remote, you've got to do it with
the key.
Right, yeah. But again, that's a feature I like.
Yeah.
I find that useful.
What I used to find nice with my Citroen C5, although it annoyed my mum terribly, was when it was raining and the power was on and the windows were down, it would automatically bring the windows up. Except my mum used to be in, with her head through the window saying bye to my daughters when we were leaving the house, and it'd start raining and the windows started raining.
One thing that does annoy me, I never meant to be talking about things that actually we do like, but I just wanted to mention this. Cars these days, of course, have daytime running lights and stuff like that, and automatic lights that, of course, you can turn off.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But even if you're running around as it's getting dark with your daytime running lights on, your dashboard will still be lit up on like most cars. Now this is, it really, really annoys me because you sit in a car and you see your dashboard lit up, so you think your lights are on. But they're not, it's just your running lights. So people are running around in almost dark conditions with just the running lights on.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
And it's because the dashboard's lit up, so my lights on.
I think this goes to the beauty of myself leaving the car on the auto lights, because there's no mistake there.
Yeah.
I'd sooner them come on just when they're not needed, but at least I know when they start they're on.
Do you know what I used to like about auto lights? Because when we go up to Edinburgh, we set off at ridiculous o'clock in the morning, so it's dark. And you're not then arriving somewhere with your headlights still on and everybody else has come turned off because you've just been driving along, it's come down.
I do find them useful.
Any more, I've got at least one I'm going to mention, but any more from you guys on stuff?
This is going to sound odd from someone who had an experience of a car where the actual idea failed and put me off them, but yet I still like the idea.
Go on.
Sunroofs.
Yeah.
I like the idea of driving along and suddenly, if the weather changes, being able to have a sunroof.
You should have bought that Saab.
Right. But, as some people may know, and I will remind you, I had an MG sedan, I had an issue with the sunroof and it completely put me off where I would avoid cars if they came with a sunroof. I wouldn't want the sunroof because there was always a fear of something going wrong. It's not that I don't actually like the idea, because I do, it was the fear of something going wrong.
The other thing is as well, and this shows up in the 205 video, is that with certain non-factory fit sunroofs, you actually had a condensation problem.
Yeah.
And sometimes that would appear, sometimes it could be so bad it appeared as if it was a leak.
I must admit, as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of it myself. The next car I have, I'm determined is going to have a something because I do miss it. And even with air conditioning, which is very nice, it's nice to let a bit of light in.
But at the end of the day, I've had a lot of cars with air conditioning. And find I don't use it much. Does that make sense? I will use things like heated seats and that if it's got more than I would air conditioning.
Yeah.
Because I just put my windows down.
The thing is, I mean, I don't miss sunroofs, and I think part of it is down to the fact that I had the convertible. And I always used to think, when you're driving a convertible, you see people there with the sunglasses on, and I just think to myself, poser. and I was determined not to
Not
be
to
that
be-
Not to
person
fall into that bracket.
when I got my MGs. The problem being, you've got nowhere to hide from the sun.
No.
So you need sunglasses on because there's no other way of driving
The thing
them.
is, and I know you've said it time and time again when we filmed it, I should have got the sound.
Yeah,
And hindsight's a wonderful thing.
it is. It's fantastic.
It is, and I should have done. If I had the money, I would seek one out now. I really would. It is a really missed opportunity, was that? And the more I look back at the footage we filmed of it, and it's not far off coming round to nearly a year.
Yeah.
When we did it, it was in March, so we're not far off. I still think, whoever's got that car, please, even on a day like this, enjoy it like mad, because I would have been doing.
Yeah. So that's the discussion for this episode.
It is. Again, as always, we've rambled on a lot, as we do.
Malcolm's got some editing to do.
Massive editing to do, but you see, when we get on, we don't have to get on.
But I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you look forward to next month's discussion, and we'll show you have something interesting for you then as well.
Oh, we certainly will. We may be in the same. We won't call it a studio, but it's getting that way. In the same place.
We need a proper recording location, don't we?
Right, so that was the discussion, because it went on so long. We had to feature more of it because it's footage by then.
We couldn't fit it in one episode.
We couldn't. Long story short, we couldn't get it all in one.
But it also made episode 16 a lot easier to produce.
From Mountain Point, it really did. For me, personally, I'd just like to say what's coming up now. At first, I wasn't, let's say, sure about. But as you've seen the video, I'm really warm to it. And it's nothing else but a Mark III Focus RS. And I believe a very nice car.
We really enjoyed filming that, all of us, didn't we?
Even though we couldn't actually take it out at the
We
time.
couldn't, but for all I have my issues, as you'll see in the video, at the end of the day, it's a lot. Or one like it, let's say now.
If you look at the extended feature, you very nearly did.
Very did.
But anyway, for your pleasure, here comes the Focus RS. I'll say I'm excited because it's a Ford and everyone knows me about my Fords, but we're in, if everyone can see, we're in a Focus RS, aren't we, Kurt?
We are indeed, a very nice one it is too.
Little treat for his birthday today.
Thanks for that. Yes, I had the pleasure of choosing the car at NK today, given it's my birthday, and I chose this, Focus RS. We have a Ford man with us.
Well, considering that I've had that many Mark II STs, then a Mark II RS, and then all the new STs, when this was due to come out, owning a Mark II RS, which I had, I was expecting, like the Mark II was, I expected flared wheel arches, bonnet bends. Even if it was going to be a 5-door, still could have been done. But we're expecting a bit more drama like what they did with the Mark II. And I look at it sometimes, and for all there is parts of this car I love, I look at it and I still think, I think you just had a bit of a, I don't know, let's just be on the safe side and keep it a bit ST.
Yeah, I suppose there's an element of the fact that obviously the ST has been so successful that they maybe didn't want to,
It has.
to change the recipe too much.
I know with Ford a lot of it's obviously going to be cost,
Yeah,
with the same body shell and things like that, much easier to produce.
you've got your different drive modes down here,
Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
We've got the drift like a douchebag button and all that, things like that. And there's going to be a lot of these written off, I think, because of that. You've got the sound, and we know a lot of it's amplified.
it has got a fantastic.
And it's all-wheel drive system and the lot,
Yeah.
and it all works beautifully. As a technical exercise, how this car performs, 100%.
Yeah, it is. If you look at the interior, it is very similar just to a regular Focus.
It is very samey. Climbing in this is no different hardly to me climbing in some of the STs.
But then again, what can they do really to?
Well, to be fair, and a lot will
differentiate
say this, the Mark II ST had the same interior roughly as the Mark II RS.
Yeah.
With the turbo gauges
Yeah.
and everything same. It's
Yeah.
only because it had the bucket seats and things like that, which separated.
Yeah.
It was an identical thing, but at least when you climbed out of the car, then you saw the difference.
Yeah, I mean, seats is an interesting subject because obviously with the RS, this RS, you have a few options which you didn't have before. Now with this one, you have, I think it's 3 options, isn't it? You've got these seats here, which is, I suppose in effect the comfort seats. They're essentially the same as you'd find in an ST. Now you have the option of them having, as in this car, with the half leather, or again you have the option to upgrade to the Recaros, don't you?
The Recaro bucket seats.
Yeah, everything. And I have to say, I was a bit unsure about the seats. They look very, even though these are, like I say, effectively the comfort seats, they do look very sort of bucket-like. But I have to say, I am impressed. This is an extremely comfortable car.
Well, as people may remember, my yellow ST3 was filmed for a very early episode.
I think it was the first one, wasn't it?
One of the very first ones. And that was an ST3 that had the seats very similar to this, but they were full leather. And I found the seats great.
I have to say, this car, the driving machine, is... I'm very comfortable in these seats. They seem to give you just the right amount of support.
I thought I've tried to separate it a bit to make it knowledgeable that you're in an RS. Your turbo gauges on this obviously highlighted in blue.
As is, of course, the stitching on the steering wheel.
You get the blue
and
stitching,
the badge there,
you get a badge. Everything
the gear knob
is done in blue, whereas STs were done in red. You've got your kick plates, which I believe they light up as the ST did. Now they light up in the blue.
I think this is probably, I think like you say, like you mentioned off camera of course, that if this was your first fast forward, I think you'd probably be fine.
Don't get me wrong, if I hadn't have had I had 3 STs of the shape we know now. They're all the same car, and if I hadn't have had them, and this was my first Ford to look at thinking I can afford it, blah blah, I think I'll have it. Yes, I'd have it.
Yeah.
Because this black colour, I actually think is one of the best colours.
I think it looks stunning on the RS.
I think it looks a bit stealthy. It looks more meaner and aggressive for some reason.
And I think it's helped on this car by the fact this car's also got the optional lightweight wheels, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In black.
I think it goes well with the black wheels and the blue calipers. I still, where I'm sat now, looking at the controls and that, and I still feel I'm in an ST until you start it.
And we have started the car.
And it actually started, and I
Martin started it.
I want to drive off in it, but I have gone through the modes and popped the accelerator down.
There is a slight difference, of course, in the exhaust noise. You've got your normal mode, you've got your
normal, you've got your sport, and then you've got
race.
Your race.
Yeah.
Which suddenly starts warning you that you're not on a racetrack. You realise you're doing this. Again, I don't like warnings like that, because if they put a thing in a car like that, why are they warning you? If they don't want you to use it, don't include it. It does have some road presence, and there'll be a lot that prefer this over the Mark II. It's each to their own, but I still believe the Mark II had more of a road presence.
I would agree with that.
Even just stood without the engine running, stand them side by side, and the Mark II just looked like it were on steroids, and this one just looks like it's sort of...
Didn't even need the RS badges with that one, I don't think.
People who didn't know what cars were, if you were driving down the road in one, they would look at it because they think, oh, look at that, I've seen one of them about. What is it, man? Yeah. I think this could drive past.
It certainly had road presence, absolutely no doubt about it.
But I'd still have it.
I love the interior. That's a bit regular focus.
Don't get me wrong, with all the STs I've had, this is a very good usable interior. It is. It's laid out well. I really found everything great with the STs I had with this interior, and it's no different with the RS.
That's the interior of the RS.
That's the interior.
Well, on that note, let's go and take a look at the outside of the RS.
Yeah. Now then, firstly, before we mention the outside, I just see Malcolm's here now at last.
Yeah, late to the party.
Yeah, he's never late. He brings the equipment. He thought he wasn't chipping in on the outside of this car, and I don't blame him actually. Where you can see we stood first, I think you'll agree with me on this. I think the front looks good.
It does. It looks really, really good.
This, I think, is what, to me, a lot of the car's about. It's presence and what you see coming towards you.
And from the front, it looks brilliant. It's distinctive because you haven't got the mesh on the grille, you've got the bar going across where everything sits.
Everything with this front separates it from an ST front, doesn't it, in every way? But you see, after that, I think this is where my argument starts.
I'm kind of agreeing with you on that.
It gets now a bit too ST-ish. Whereas remember with the Mark II, you had your different front, but the theme continued, didn't it?
It did, because when you get beyond here, it's the Focus.
It is. My brother has got a 17 plate, black, Focus ST line. And from here on, it's no different.
Whereas the Mark II RS was a different panel there, it flared out.
In fact, he actually even gets a badge on the side, like my Fiesta ST line, he gets a badge on the side. So there you go.
The ST line gets a badge.
So they're more upmarket.
I kind of agree, but when you've got to look at the whole package.
But then when you come to the front and you see the front, you think, oh, that's screaming RS. And
exactly.
It is.
But also, you get this. You have the door spoiler.
I kind of like this in a way. I don't think it's as good as the Mark II one, but I still kind of like this. Let's not forget the noises that come from this as well. They sound brilliant. We've been revving this up and it does sound the dogs. But there is a massive part of it that's synthesised and amplified into the car as well. Yeah. And at least with your 5-pot Volvo engine in your Mark II RS, what you've got directly from under the bonnet, you've got that noise from there because it's all genuine.
There's nothing wrong with the car. Let's make this very, very clear.
Yeah. As a car, it's brilliant.
Nothing wrong with the car. It is brilliant. The all-wheel drive system works really well. When you're looking at the different modes and you're using the drift mode, the way it handles that is genius. The way it works is it spins the back wheel ever so slightly faster to bring the back out of line.
Yeah.
And then the computer's then handling a lot of things to make sure you don't go stupid.
It complements you very well.
It does. It complements your driving very well, but of course, it's not perfect. It's a tool to make a tool look good.
Yes.
A really good driver will be able to make the drift mode really stand out.
Yeah.
The average driver will be able to make the drift mode work for them. The idiot will end up in a ditch.
And let's not forget at the time of the Mark II RS, there was none of this. Every bit of the power went to the front wheels, and you had to cross your fingers. But I think that's what made it a damn good car.
This is the ultimate styling for the Focus, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, there could be a few things that can be changed. There's plenty of aftermarket things that do that. But everywhere you look, there is that feeling of, that'll do. I understand it from a money point of view. The Mark II RS was incredibly expensive for Ford to actually bring out because quite a lot of it was bespoke parts just for that car.
It was.
And I can sort of understand why they've done it, especially with the drift mode, where somebody might end up in a ditch. If you're going to have that kind of mode and that kind of risk, you've got to make the car as standard as possible, just for the end user. I get the reason why we've got the half leather. Not, people don't like full leather. Some people just don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, I even had my ST3 Tangerine Scream, and it had full heated seats, full leather, the lot. You may have seen it on his early videos.
I remember driving it.
And Malcolm even drove it straight back home. Going down that street, you realise what's suspension like. Yeah, you do.
Spike going.
Yeah, hard.
Ow. Really, ow.
It's how a car makes you feel, and I always said my Mark II could have had a small engine in it, but I would have still had it, and that's what it was about for me. But me, being a Ford man, I still
rate the thing. So I think we've really stripped this car down, haven't we?
The only thing that lets this car down is Ford. That's
Maybe.
it.
Maybe.
The car itself, believe me, it really is brilliant.
Yeah.
With the all-wheel drive, it works perfectly. It just works.
And as we know, they've made the red edition and now it's heritage and that, or the minutes only around about 50.
So, that was the Focus RS.
Oh, Craig, you notice I'm still clutching the key because after revving it up a bit, I love the sound of it. It's got some damn good things about it which was needed maybe with an R2 and this now has. So, as its exercise and what it stands for, it is still an RS. There's no escape.
But that really is the Focus RS.
This is the sad point where I have to give them the keys back now. You should have seen my face when I started it up.
I hope you enjoy it. We've certainly enjoyed filming. We've had some cracking weather today, which makes a change.
We've got fortunate once again. Yeah.
But until next time,
We will find something else for you to do.
I will see you guys later. That was the Focus RS, and it's our last feature for episode 16.
It was, yeah.
It was also the last feature I filmed before I actually fell ill.
I think it was already starting to fall ill at the time. I think.
Well, maybe, but we hope we didn't jinx things actually because it seemed like one of them days at first until we started filming the RS and everything came together as it always does, but we did not expect the boss man here falling seriously ill and having to do a trip to the hospital to see him. But
Two hospitals
he went to. Yeah, he were trying to do the rounds. I think he was actually on the
Two hospitals, 4 wards.
I think he was doing a hospital survey as well. Actually, the story.
Ward 2B was the best.
Remember that. But yeah, normal service is an hour resumed in it, guys. So
It is indeed.
Well, normal-ish.
Normal-ish, as ish as it can be.
So,
That pretty much sums up episode 16.
It does. For me, out of that, obviously it will be the Focus. I absolutely loved that car.
It was a bit of a birthday treat for me as well, I think.
Yeah.
that would have been a remarkable.
It was.
For all, I'm a massive fan of the Mark II. Things change and time moves on, doesn't it? So I think it's a car for them. What are your thoughts, Craig? Do you think you'll be able to set it so much?
There's Focus RS all the set of it, I think.
It's a tough one. It really is a tough one.
It was a tough one. Yes, that was episode 16, and hope you enjoyed it as much as we did filming it.
See you in 17.
We will. We won't give any teasers away this time. We'll leave it open. So we'll see you in 17. Cheers.